So we already studied about we already started normalization with the concept of normalization, the goals of normalization, different types of normal forms, in which we studied the first normal form, which are the conditions for first normal form, second normal form, which are the main conditions that the table should satisfy in order to make a table into second normal form, like that. So now we are going to study about, then we already studied third normal form also. That is, we need to avoid the transitive dependency in order to make a table into third normal form. So next normalization we have to study is BCNF, boycott normal form. So if you want to study the boycott normal form, before that we have to study some details about the functional dependency. So we know the meaning of functional dependency, uh, and here we are going to study more details about the functional dependency. And we can say that a functional dependency is a constraint on a set of legal relations. That is, suppose we have given tables, that is, relations means if a database is given as different relations, actually functional dependency is a set of constraint, that is a set of condition that will specify whether the particular relation is legal or not. So its meaning is that, suppose if you have a relation, we can say that if A and B are two attributes of the same table, if A implies B, that means if you know the value of A attribute A, if we can uniquely identify the attribute of B, then we can say that A implies B. So how we can specify A implies B? A implies B means, uh, so suppose this is A, this is one attribute of my table. Suppose this is B, that is another attribute of my table. And we can write A implies B. What is the condition? If you know the value of A, if we can uniquely identify the value of B, then we can say A implies B. That means B is functionally dependent on A. Okay, so we can also say that a functional dependency is a generalization of the notion of keys. So we already studied about keys. So it is actually a generalization, that is general form of a key is functional dependency. So this is an example of functional dependency. Suppose as we described, suppose we have a table which contains these attributes like A and B. Okay, so we have a table, we have a relation. Let A and B are two attributes of that table. And suppose this set will give you the domain values of A, that is the set of possible values for attribute A. And suppose this will give you the set of possible values for attribute B. So if functional dependency means, if you know the value of a particular attribute, if you can uniquely identify the other attribute in other, that is value of other attribute. So here we can see if A, that is if you are taking the attribute A, if small a indicates if the value of A is small a, then the corresponding value is 4. And if for B, dollar, C, Q. So that means that it is similar to one-to-one relation. If you know one attribute value, then there will be a corresponding another attribute value in B. So it will uniquely identify. If this is the second attribute value, and there will be a corresponding unique attribute value for B. So if there is a dependency between these two tables, that is the meaning of functional dependency. So if X can, that is X can be any value here, if X can uniquely determine the value of Y in other attribute, then we can see that X implies Y. So here this example is a functional dependent one, because here for each attribute value in this set, there is a unique value in another set. And we can some more points about or some more explanation about functional dependency is that, suppose alpha and beta be any two sets of attributes in a table. That is, suppose we have a relation, this is a table, we have a relation, and let we have a lot of attributes are there. So let this be, this is one attribute, this is second attribute, this is third attribute. So Suppose the set of all the attributes are represented by R. Okay, this is a relation schema. Relation schema means a set of all the attribute values. And we are taking two subsets, alpha and beta, which are subsets of R. That means we are taking alpha as any subset of this table, this schema, and beta is also another subset from the schema. That is, suppose if you are considering a student table with 4 attributes, student ID. Suppose this is the student table with the student ID. Okay, this is the student name. Let this be the roll number. Roll number. This may be the city, and this is the mark, total mark. Okay, so we have a table, the student table, which consists of ID, name, city, and mark. And how can we represent the schema R? The schema R can be represented as R is equal to, so what are the attribute values for this one? That is the ID, this is ID, comma, the next one is name, then next is city, then next one is mark. Okay, so this is the corresponding schema for this table R. So this is the relation schema. Relation schema means we are just writing the all attributes of this table in bracket. That is called the relation schema. So this indicates that we have a table with all these attributes. So suppose we are taking alpha and beta as any subset of this table. So this alpha and beta, it can be any subset. We know that the meaning of subset. So let alpha and beta be two subsets of this table. So we can write the functional dependency alpha implies beta if we know the corresponding value of alpha, then if we can uniquely identify the values in beta. That means if you take any tuples from this table, any tuples means we can select any 2 rows from this table. Then for every value of alpha, if we can, for each tuple, for every value of alpha, if we can identify unique value of beta, then we can say that alpha implies B. That is, if T1 and T2 are any 2 tuples. Any 2 tuples means any 2 rows from this table. And if we are just taking T1 of alpha is equal to T2 of alpha, that implies T1 of beta is equal to T2 of beta. So the concept is very simple. We have a table, we have a relation. Let this be the set of attributes inside the relation, and let alpha and beta are any subset of this relation schema. Then if alpha implies beta means that if you know the value of alpha, if you can uniquely identify the value of beta for all the tuples inside the table, then we can write alpha implies beta. So suppose you consider this example. This is a relation. Suppose A and B are the attributes of this. This is the value of A and this is the value of B. Okay. So let A and B are 2 attributes of our relation. So whether we can write A implies B, check whether we can write A implies B. A implies B. Is it true or false? That is, for each value of A, if we can uniquely identify a corresponding value in B, then we can write A implies B. So if A is 1, the 2 values are there, 4 and 5. If A is 3, then a unique value is there in B, that is 7. So this is A implies B is not true, because here for A, the attribute value A, 2 attribute value have, or 1 attribute value have 2 different values in B. That is here 1 and 4 and 1 and 5. So we cannot say that A implies B. But on the other hand, we can say B implies A. Why? If you know the value of B, whenever B is 4, the value is 1. Whenever B is 5, the value is 1. Whenever B is 7, the value is 3. So it holds. So we can say that B implies A in this example. Next is, we are going to study, we already know the concept of super key and candidate key. But here we are going to study how we can represent a super key with the help of this functional dependency. Suppose KB, we know the meaning of R. So in entire topic, that is whenever we are studying about the functional dependency in the coming slides also. The R means the set of relations. So I already gave one example for R. So let R be R be a schema for a particular relation, and suppose we are taking a subset of attributes called K. That is, let K be any subset of attributes from this relation schema R. And K is said to be the super key if K implies R. That is, if you know the value of attribute K, that is attribute values of K, which all attributes are set as K. If you know the values, if we can uniquely identify all other values inside R, then we can write K as a super key. On the other hand, what is the meaning of K as a candidate key? We know that candidate key is minimal super key. Minimal super key means minimum that much number of attributes are needed to uniquely identify a tuple. So, if K is a candidate key, then K implies the two conditions must be satisfied. That is, K should imply R. K should imply R means if we know the value of K, if we can specify all other attribute values in R. And for no alpha subset of K, alpha implies R. That is, minimum K attributes are needed to specify each and every attribute, uniquely identify each and every tuple inside the table, not less number. That is, minimum K is needed, not its subset. If you are taking the subset, you may not be able to specify a particular tuple uniquely. That is the meaning of candidate key. Now we have to study some use of functional dependency. So now we study, we already discussed about what is the meaning of a functional dependency, how we can represent the functional dependency, how we can represent a candidate key or a super key using the term functional dependency. So now we are going to study what are the uses of functional dependency. Mainly there are two uses are there for a functional dependency. This is the first rule. That is, suppose we have given a relation and we have given a set of functional dependencies. Then we can check whether all these functional dependencies are satisfied by the particular table R. If it's satisfied, we can say that R satisfies F. So here we have to consider two terms. What is the meaning of this R and what is the meaning of this F? Okay. So suppose a table is given, a relation is given that is denoted by the small letter R. And we have given a set of functional dependencies. So I will give you one example. So here you can see, suppose we have given a relation R. That is, let these be the set of attributes. So we are going to specify the two uses of functional dependency. The first use is that suppose we have given a table or a relation and a set of functional dependencies denoted by F. So if you are considering this example, we have given a relation. Let this be a relation. Okay, here we are just specifying the attributes as a schema. Schema means the set of attributes inside that table. And let this be the set of functional dependency. So here you can see all this implies functional dependency. So this is capital letter F. Okay. So we have given a relation and a set of functional dependency. So if that relation satisfies all this functional dependency specified by F, we can say that R satisfies F. That means in the case of in the case of R, suppose if R is a relation, F is a set of functional dependencies. If all the functional dependencies are satisfied by R, we can say that R satisfies F. Okay, so that is the first. We can like that we can test the relation. That is whether the relation is legal or not. We will specify the attributes, that is constraints are specified as attributes, functional dependencies, and whether if this set of functional dependencies are satisfied by that particular relation, we can check whether it satisfies it or not. And this is the second use. Second use is that we can specify the constraints in the form of functional dependency. That is, we have a set of relations are there, the set of functional dependencies, set of constraints are there, and if you are specifying those conditions or constraints or functional dependencies, we can check whether a particular relation satisfies those functional dependencies or not. Then next is what is called the closure of a set of functional dependency. So as I said, F indicate a set of functional dependencies, and there may be some other functional dependencies that are logically implied by F. That is, we are not specifying them directly. They are logically derived from the existing set of functional dependencies. Then the set of all such functional dependencies that are logically derived or implied from F or by F is called the closure, which is denoted by F bar. This is the symbol for closure. So if we have a two functional dependencies are given directly. The first one is A implies B, second one is B implies C. So from these two functional dependencies given, we can derive another functional dependency logically, because by applying the transitive rule, if A implies B and B implies C, A implies C will be there. So actually A implies C is not given in our question, in our set. They are logically derived from the existing set of functional dependency. So that is called the closure of F, and this is F, this is the closure of F. That is, these are the set of functional dependencies which are logically derived from the F. It is denoted by F plus, and F plus will be always, it will be a superset of S. Superset means F will be the set of functional dependencies are only a subset of this F bar. And there are a certain axioms. So certain methods are there to find out this F plus. That is, if you want to calculate the closure, if you want to find out F plus, that is the closure, we can use these three rules will help you to find out F plus, to compute F plus, and they are called the Armstrong's axioms. The first axiom is the reflexivity rule, second axiom is the augmentation rule, and third one is the transitivity rule. So with the help of all these rules, we can derive or we can compute the F plus. Okay. So suppose we have given a set of functional dependencies F. If you know these rules, by using these rules, you can identify the closure F plus. We can compute F plus. That is the set of functional dependencies which are logically derived from the existing set of functional dependency. So now we can study what are the meaning of all these rules. So before explaining these rules, we know what is the meaning of alpha, what is the meaning of beta, and here we are using what is another variable which is called gamma. So suppose R is a relation which contains a set of attributes. Alpha, beta and gamma are any subset of these attributes. So you just remember that point. Alpha, beta and gamma are subset of these attributes of this relation R. So the Armstrong axiom, the first Armstrong axiom is the reflexivity rule. This rule says that if alpha is a set of attributes and beta is a subset of alpha, that is, here it is given that suppose we are taking alpha as a set of attributes and a subset of alpha is called beta, then alpha implies beta will hold. That is, always this condition will be true. Second rule is that it is called augmentation rule. That is, if alpha implies beta, hold. That is, if there exists a functional dependency like alpha implies beta, and gamma is another set of attribute inside that relation, then gamma alpha will be implies gamma beta. There exists a functional dependency between these attributes. Okay. So alpha and beta are any two, alpha, beta and gamma be any set of attributes, and if alpha implies beta holds, that is, inside the table this functional dependency holds, then for another set of attributes gamma alpha will be will implies gamma beta. Then you know the transitivity rule, that is, if alpha implies beta, beta implies gamma, then alpha will be implies gamma. So by using these are some basic rules which will help you to find out the F plus. These are called the Armstrong axioms. And these three rules are very sound and very complete. And other than this one, we can also use some other functionalities. So I will give you one example to find out using this how we can find out F plus using these three rules. So suppose that we have given R, that is a relation schema which consists of 5 different attributes. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, G, H, I. Then let it be the F, that is the set of functional dependencies given. And from this functional dependencies, by applying these three rules explained, we can generate some logically inferred uh, functional dependency, that is called F. They are, first one, we know that here if you check this functional dependency, A implies B is there, B implies H is there. So we already know the transitive dependency, that is A will be implies H, which is not specified in this list, but they are logically created. So A implies H. Then how it is created? By applying the transitivity inference rule, transitivity rule, A implies B and B implies H. The next one is we can create another rule, AG implies I. So how this will be created? The first thing is that we know the second rule. Second rule is if alpha implies beta whole, gamma alpha implies gamma beta. So if A implies C is already there, okay, we are just adding G to this. Okay, so if by augmenting A implies B, that is to this A implies B functional dependency, we are just adding G. Here gamma will be G and which is added to both sides. AG implies CG. Then by transitive rule, we know that AG implies CG, CG implies H, CG implies I, then AG will be implies I. So these are the way how we can create the closure based on the set of Armstrong axioms. And other than these axioms, we can create three more rules. That is, three more rules are there which will help you to. There are three more rules are there which will give you, which will help you to find out functional dependency, to find out the F plus. That are union rule. So these are some additional one, decomposition rule and pseudo transitivity rule. So what is union rule? If alpha implies beta holds, that is if this is true for a particular relation and this is also true for that relation. Here left side is same, alpha implies beta, alpha implies gamma, then alpha implies beta gamma, that is called the union rule. That is the right side, we are taking the union. The next is decomposition rule, that is the opposite of the union rule. That is if alpha implies beta gamma, we can write alpha implies beta and alpha implies gamma. Then pseudo transitivity rule is that if alpha implies gamma, beta is true for a relation, then and gamma beta implies delta. So here these are set of attributes only. Then alpha gamma will be same, implies delta. So these are called these are actually inferred from the Armstrong axiom. So if the question is write the Armstrong axioms, these are called the Armstrong axioms, and there are some rules which are inferred from the Armstrong axioms. They are union rule, decomposition rule and pseudo transitivity rule. So after understanding all these points, we can easily study the concept of Boyle's normal form, that is called BCNF.